In this class, we will discuss the theory and the practice of that which in English you could call the infinity sphere, the infinity pyramid, and the infinity angle. That brings us to a very interesting starting point. Infinity. What does it mean? What does it entail? If you look throughout history, if you look into your philosophers and later on your scientists and your artists, then once again your philosophers, and now your quantum scientists. Throughout all of these ages, the concept of infinity has been explored in many a different way. But one of the most important or interesting ones with regards to our topic today starts in philosophy and was later on by Pascal taken into mathematics. And this concerns the discussion of the infinite circle or the infinite sphere, depending on whether you are talking in 2 or 3 dimensions, of course. The interesting point is that when people throughout the ages wished to explore the concept of infinity, even within the realm of mathematics, a need was felt to include a particle, a concept, if you will, that rises above the material, the physical, and such, and rises into the state of that which in religion then gets described as God. Now, throughout history, an important definition of God was linked to the concept of the infinity sphere or the infinity circle. And the definition goes somewhat as follows. God is an infinite sphere or an infinite circle, of which the center is everywhere and the circumference nowhere. Later on, the same definition would be used and the concept of God would be replaced by infinity. In other words, infinity is an infinite sphere, of which the center is everywhere and the circumference nowhere. Of course, when thinking in the mind of the world of vibration, of the world of particles, you believe a center to be at the heart of a, in this case, sphere or circle. At the heart, and the circumference by default would be the edge of the circle, or in the case of the sphere, the outer skin, the outer field. And in your particle physics and your understanding of the world, the space between the center of that circle or sphere and the circumference would be known as the diameter. That diameter, the space between the center and the circumference, is a finite, limited number in particle physics and your understanding of the world. And therefore, you are dealing with finite particles, finite circles. And the concept of infinity, the God concept, turns these concepts on their head, turns them around by reducing the circumference of the sphere, and we will go into a practice of this in a while, by reducing the circumference of the sphere. As the sphere grows smaller, the center of the sphere, in itself a point, grows larger. The center, equal to the shrinking of the circumference, grows until in the center of the diameter, these both circles meet. And in that moment, when the center of the sphere, in itself a circle holographically speaking, and in itself a sphere holofractographically speaking, when that center meets that shrinking circumference, infinity is generated. And the vibrational laws of physics are lifted. Now, theoretically, this is a very simple idea. A sphere with a center point, and as the sphere shrinks, the center point grows until both meet in the middle and lift each other out of existence. The center of that sphere, therefore, is now everywhere and nowhere, and the circumference also everywhere and nowhere. The diameter has not become infinite. It has become non-existent, meaningless, lifted into the chaotic spectacular. Rather than going into the detail, today at least, of what this all means, we are going to attempt to let you experience it. That is, after all, why you are here and why we come together. As I already stated at the beginning of this class, a field of consciousness has now risen in this Imzaia Merkava, in this student body, to such an extent. The practice has been practiced by you all to such an extent, and the preparedness and the openness is there to such an extent that practical exercise can begin. In order to do so, a location, a physical and metaphysical location, is about to be manifested for Imzaia, student body, here in Europe. This will be explained more in further days, but it is in this location that all of you will be invited, both in the physical and in the metaphysical, and for the time being, where needed, in the digital, this way, if you will, for those of you that are spread around far, in order to facilitate these next training sessions, these next steps, where all of the things that you have prepared for can now begin to be turned into practice.
Greetings, my beloved divine child. I am Solarys of akeneic service. And today I come into this place. Today I come into this field of choice that you would call a family. And I come in to invite you to play together. Yes, you understood correctly. I, Solarys, want to play with you. I want to play with your heart. I want to find within you the essence of innocence that has always been there. It's been there since the beginning of time, and when time would stop, it would still be there. The difference since I spoke last is very noticeable. It's a different way of translating this energy into words. It's a different way of connecting to you. More so than in any other time when I spoke before. I feel myself pouring out of you and into this body that I'm sitting in right now, so I can bring you these words. Used to be different. The whole concept of channeling used to be different. You used to believe in entities, in energies, consciousness that was separated from you, carrying personality, carrying memories, lifetimes and lifetimes of memories. The concept of channeling used to be that the energy that you wanted to connect with could come in through just a few, just a couple of people on this planet Earth. They would be called gurus or mediums. Not important, those words. But today, as you are finding your guidance from the inside out, I want you to be aware of where I am coming from. I am coming from within you. And all those, actually, who are now here together in this moment, not just those who are sitting here, I'm talking about those reading, those watching later on, are pouring out of you. This is a constant process. It's happening all the time. Everything that you see around you, every person that you greet, every hug that you give and that you receive is pouring out of you. Every object that is around you. But oh, how could we explain this process to you? There's only one way that we can really explain it. And that's to make you experience it firsthand. You better get used to this. You better get used to these steps that are now going to be taken, because they are going to flow all over this planet Earth. Humanity can only advance. Humanity can only take the next step when it is ready to accept this simple fact that it is the center of all things, just like I am. Just like the chair you're sitting on is. Just like the pet that you might have is. Just like those people that you don't particularly like. Just like those people that you might even hate in an old paradigm. They're all pouring out of you, and you are pouring out of them. Why would I invite you to play today? It's very simple. Last time when I spoke, when the energy was still very different, I made a promise to you. And I, Solarys, let you know that I would give you 5 steps. You like numerology, you like paradigms, you like systems, so 5 steps for creation. This is what your world is going to look like, you know. You are going to be put back into the chair of creation. It is a place that has always belonged to you. But because you were taught to be afraid, but because you were taught to be small and separate, you gave your chair of creation away. And now it is our honor, all of us together, to recreate that chair. If you don't know where it is, if you don't know where it's coming from, you can't work with your reality. And there are those out there who do know what they're doing, who do know where it is coming from. So let this be the goal for this moment, to re-find your own center of creation. And to do that, blessed human, to do that, we are going to have to bend the rules a little bit. You have had rules on your planet Earth for such a long time. Rules about creating reality. What reality was. laws of physics, laws of matter, laws of energy. And all of you agreed to follow these rules up until a certain point. And that point is freedom. And that freedom is now upon you. So the rules that you have taken for granted for so long are now going to have to be bent. And you are going to be the ones bending them. There are 5 elements that make up every aspect of your reality. And you know what they are. Fire or light, earth, water, air, and consciousness. 5 elements that are not about the physical attributes of the elements themselves, but about the energy behind them, the attributes behind them, the vibrations and the frequencies. And if you are going to want to find your own chair of creation, I am going to have to teach you about portals. Oh, you know about portals. You see them all around you, and you travel to these places. We're actually near one right now. Mount Shasta would be a major portal on this planet Earth. And so many others are. And some of you have visited them, and you think that you feel something special in this place because that is where the portal is, right? If only you could understand already that the special feeling that you are feeling at such a moment is not coming from a mountain. It is not coming from a portal outside of you. It is coming from within you. Because these portals that are all over Earth and that you in an old energy world have looked for so long, all they did was awaken something within you, deep within. Whenever you were close to one of these major energy vortexes, what you felt was your power to choose and create. In the course of 2007, you've all gone through a unique type of cosmic mastery. And you now are aware of all of the illusions. You are aware of how you are creating them. And you are aware of how you can stop them. What you aren't aware of, however, is how you do it on a practical level. And I am often with the channel as he gets these questions fired towards him. How do we do it on a practical level? How can we make this work? And the emails come in and the messages of people who ask. So, January 28th, 2008, the 1111 portal, it came and it went. What happened? What can we expect? Oh please, channel. Oh please, Solarys. Tell us, what can we expect? And I can only look at you and ask you, what can you expect? What is the scope of your imagination, Imzaia? What is the scope of your power? Is it indeed infinite? And if it is, why are you putting the question out there to somebody else? In order to avoid this, we will begin working on your own essence. It is the akeneic, of course. It could be called the inner portal. In order to achieve this inner portal, to find it again within yourself, we are going to look at the 5 building blocks of that which you call reality. And we are going to find out together how you can activate this wonderful tool, the akeneic, on a practical, day-to-day level. That's what we're here for. That's what we're going to be doing. Actually, as the channel was preparing himself to put these messages that are now going to come in, to put them online, he chose a title for this chapter. It's going to be given to you in 5 parts. The title that he chose was The Infinite Portals of Creation. And I'm going to change that title because I told you, and I've been very serious up till now, I told you I was going to come in here to play. If we're going to play together, we're going to be calling this chapter Bending the Rules. For isn't that what a child does? I refer you back to Imzaia, a child on the playground. Isn't that what it does? All the adults around it are telling it is in a certain place of space and time, namely a playground. The child, however, bends the rules whenever it wants and is whatever it wants to be. Not upholding this story that the adults around him or her is holding up. No, it chooses. It chooses what it wants to be. And it does so because it has a practical understanding of the elements of creation. It doesn't know it has them. It just does. Because it's a natural process. And along the way, as children grow older and reality becomes more defined and limited, in fact, it forgets these rules. Or it doesn't really forget them, it just puts them away in a place deep, deep down. And sometimes as the child grows up, oh, that place hurts. That place in your lives has hurt. It is the place where you feel that things are not right, where you feel that things should be different. It is that place that I'm talking about. That place that is always telling you if you are ready to listen, if you are taking a good or a bad turn. That place that is telling you if you are in the heart or in the head. And so often, humanity as it grows up feels the pain because the truth in that place is no longer being followed. And the pain comes and the adult gets deeper into it. This fabric you call reality. And it tries to silence the pain, sometimes by external means such as alcohol or drugs, or even the more subtle ways to get addicted to that which you call life. Television, stories, drama. And every time the human feels the pain in that special place, and he or she uses the drama to not focus on the pain gets numb a little bit each time, until right in the end, you can't even feel the pain anymore. But deep down, it is still there. I will tell you this, human. Blessed, blessed seeker. I will tell you this. When the pain is no longer noticeable, that's when the personality takes complete charge of the soul. And most people on this planet today are in that position. So some are needed, and some have come to open up that place yet again. so it could spread. And on other locations on this planet, I can tell you, at this very moment, similar groups are doing the same thing. Opening up the place of vulnerability, of innocence, of play. The child is never afraid that it's going to get hurt when it plays with another, is it? It just opens its heart and steps into that special place together. And only when society teaches it that it is dangerous to do so because you could end up getting hurt is when it stops doing so. So it might take you some time to find the place. Just to find that feeling somewhere within. I'm not asking you to immediately open it up. I'm not asking you to immediately get it all out there. I'm just asking you to locate it. And as you are going to do so, we are going to wait for a couple of minutes. And we will guide you towards this place. Well, this is interesting. You're going faster than anticipated. Faster than expected. And please don't give me the thoughts that some around the world are having right now as they are listening to this message. Ooh, Solarys came back too fast. I didn't finish. I didn't get to the place. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You are there. Trust that process. It has become so unrecognizable, this spot, that you would just overlook it and move on to something you do recognize that has to do with duality, but this place doesn't. So you are there. Within this space is the basic workings of the 5 elements of creation that we have talked about before. And today, right now, we're going to start with the first. You might think it would be earth, but no. We're going to start at that which humanity has just recently mastered. We're going to start with light. We're going to start with the fire. We're going to start with a passion, because that's where the play is. Let me tell you something about light. As I told you in my previous messages to you, there is a very strong connection between light, sound, color, gravity, magnetics, and geometry, all concepts. And today, we're going to talk about light, magnetics, and gravity. For you see, science on your planet Earth has gotten one thing very, very wrong indeed. Light is a constant, and science thinks it isn't. It thinks light needs space and time. Light needs speed to travel. So light becomes relative. And it isn't. It is constant. Let me explain it to you. Everything around you, your whole reality, your whole world, your whole universe, your whole cosmos is holographic in nature. You know this, and you are the projector. You know this. What happens as your reality turns into energy and then turns into matter is light being bent in specific areas of itself. The bending of that light is what gives any energy its vibration and its frequencies. What science can't figure out, because they are not taking it into the equation, is that light is a constant, as we said. But what is not a constant, in this universe at least, is consciousness. And this might shock you, especially from your human perspective, because you would say, I am always here. I am always in this body. I continuously feel and sense and experience myself. I don't continuously feel this light that you are talking about, Solarys. I am constant and the light is relative. No, blessed seeker. The light in this universe is the constant factor, and you are relative. I'm going to explain this to you now. A while ago, Kutumi and Adamus and many of the others that I would call my ascended children told you about gravity and magnetics and geometry. And they explained to you the human body, saying that at the very edge of your own energy field, you have a field of magnetics, where all potential, when we were still in a time of potential, was floating around you in chaos, and all energy was floating around you in chaos, going in every direction. And closer by to that which you would call the body was the field of geometry, which actually took all that potential, which actually took all that energy and structured it in what you would call vibration and frequency. Still energy, still not visible to the human eye. And then as you got closer to that power source that you are, your body would basically be described as a field of gravity, pulling in those vibrations and those frequencies and creating the human body based on matter. That's what you were told. And that is still true. However, the potentials that were in the field of magnetics that was around your body, around at the very rim of your energy field, were limited. And I've always said this in other voices. I've always said that your potentials were limited, even though they seemed to be indefinite, infinite, whatever you want to call it. But they were limited to you and your interaction with all those around you. So you were basically responsible for the potentials that you had around you. Now, things are changing. Things are becoming different. And bear with me here. I know this explanation is theoretical, but I'm using it to keep your thoughts busy right now, so we can get to the heart of the place that I want to go with you today. as potential moved to choice, the very rim of your own energy field was no longer limited and closed off. It opened itself up. And it became about choice. Choice is a very different energy than the energy of potential. It is. Potential needs many to make one manifest. Choice needs one to make one manifest. And that's where you're at right now. Just needing the one. So as these fields of magnetics and geometry and gravity are now changing to actually work with the free energy, what you are doing is realizing where you are with regards to the universe. Light is a constant presence within the holographic universe, waiting for something to alter it so that it could take on shape. Consciousness is, in effect, a gravity well, which has been lowered to such an extent that it would create the body, but that isn't necessary anymore. As you will learn how to work differently with the body, you will first have to learn what gravity and magnetics and light are really all about. Bending the rules, I said at the beginning of this message, and that is exactly what you're going to be doing with these elements. As the light surrounds you, and as the light has been programmed by others around you, it gives its signature from one aspect of itself to the other aspect of itself, and this happens beyond time and space. So immediately when a thought occurs somewhere on the other side of the planet, this reflects itself in the holographic nature of your universe, and this reflects itself in the light around you. How that light appears to you and how your own consciousness reacts to it, that is what is creating your reality. So you are used to sitting here in these shells you call bodies, and this consciousness that is basically a gravity well, working gravity together with magnetics, and I'll explain this in a little while. And you take the programmed light and you kind of pull it into your own gravity, and it starts to create your reality around you. What if there was another way? In the old energy world, light was indeed a constant, and consciousness was indeed relative. In a free energy paradigm, light is a constant in this universe. And the whole ascension process has been about making consciousness a constant here as well. And that is what is happening. So first you had a constant force and a relative force interacting with one another, and basically the relative force that was here undergoing what the constant force was telling it. But now you've got two constants. And choice is selecting how these constants interact with one another. At the same time as I'm listening to my own words that are pouring out of you through your ears now, as I'm listening to my own words through your ears, I am reminded how, at the same time, this sounds also very simple, and at the same time, it also sounds very complex. That's exactly right. Just keep going with me for a while. Keep the level of trust. As light has now become a secondary constant to the primary constant that is your consciousness, you no longer need to pull the light down. Your ascension has happened, and you have mastered light, as I said before. So this means that you and light are different expressions of the same energy. That means that you no longer need to pull the light down into your gravity well so that you can create this reality around you. Because that is exactly what so many of your leaders have done so that you could be manipulated. Pre-programming the light. And when you pull it down unknowingly, setting boundaries for yourself. Now you have mastered it and you are equal to it. This means that you no longer have to do the effort of pulling all that energy in and then creating it around you. It means, however, that you have to begin dancing into the light. That's what you have to do. And that's the play that we, you and I, are going to be doing today as this message progresses. We are going to be dancing with the light. Imagine this paradigm. Light comes in programmed and pushes itself down into your center where it creates reality. Or light just touches you, orbits around you, and moves away again, forever changed because of the dance, because of the connection that you had with it. Very abstract, but it is going to be your greatest tool in the weeks to come. Creating the inner portal is all about reclaiming your chair of creation. It is all about reclaiming your rightful place within the universe, but especially within yourself. When Akara and other beings speak of sovereign service, it doesn't mean that they are placing themselves below anyone, nor would they ever place themselves above anyone. Sovereign service entails equality at all times. Creating the inner portal with all 5 elements means the same thing. Creating equality at all times. If you can understand that you are the light, and if you can dance with that light rather than sucking it down into you, as so many would do out of fear of lack, then you are getting somewhere. And then you are stepping into a free energy zone where nothing can ever hurt. The reason why so many of you close off the special place anyway is because the light that you have trusted has actually betrayed you. Because it wasn't the real one. It wasn't the total one. It was a mere and very shallow reflection of what it could be. And that is the world that you're seeing out there. Those are the things that are happening in the world today. And you have asked yourselves the question so many times, how could this be? How could we have created this? This isn't right. This isn't the way it is supposed to be. How can angelic beings playing the role of humanity kill each other? How could this be? How can an angelic being playing the role of human kill an animal, cut it open, take out everything in there and then cook it? It's no different from what some people are doing to people. So how could angelic beings do this? It is just because you were taking in the programmed light and then even reading the program behind it the wrong way. Now that you step into a world of choice, you see that you can no longer accept any type of programming anymore. Because then it wouldn't be natural choice. Then it wouldn't be real choice. It would always be predefined choice. And you can't work with that anymore, human. That is no longer there for you. How could it? It doesn't work that way anymore. The last time I spoke, I gave you a very small example, childlike example, of what you can really do if you start to master these things. It was about creating butterflies, and there is even one sitting here in the audience right now who did that, as you know. The physical creation of that which seems to be magical, but basically is nothing else but an everyday, ordinary event. Just looks magical because you are not used to it. But you're doing it all the time. Only this time you're starting to do it consciously. So let's begin. Let's begin, human. Let's begin and give yourself what you have promised yourself that you would find. Do you think this is all an accident? All these convergence and concordance energies that have touched the planet in the last 20 to 30 years. Do you think it is all an accident that this portal has been created from September 2007 till the end of January 2008? And do you think it is an accident that you're feeling the changes in your body? It is no accident. But it is not providence either. It is you. It is you creating it. Always. Always you. I too am in service to you. I am the voice of the awakened, sovereign, empowered human being. I am the voice of all children, and that means all of you as well. And in letting my voice speak this way, it is my intent to bring you back to that childlike state. If the earth, if your body, if everything is this hologram, then please start playing with it. We will give you a little bit of technical information so that it becomes just complex enough for you to work with it. Because if it is too easy, you are not going to do it. Children's books are easy in stores. Do you ever read them? No, you go to the complex novels about drama and betrayal and murder. You don't go to the little book, Jacob and the Cow. It's a good book. Somebody should channel it. How does it work? As you take the programmed light in, this is gravity at work. Because gravity basically wants to decode. You see? Gravity is the decoder between light and consciousness. Gravity is the decoding software, so to speak. It pulls things into it and translates them as it pushes them together. However, gravity cannot exist without its direct opponent. Not its opposite. We've talked about this, but its direct opponent. And that is magnetics. Why direct opponent? Because magnetics actually has the same power as gravity. It can attract, but it can also repel. That means it is more complete. And it can do many other things that you are not aware of right now, but that is not important right now as well. Just accept the fact that it is a total opponent to gravity. So as the light that has been pulled in and decoded through gravity into your body system actually transforms itself through your experience, it must be pushed away again. And that is basically the reason why magnetics is here on planet Earth, why there is an electromagnetic field, why there is a solar sun sending all of that magnetic information to its outer body, which would be the planets, all the time. That's what it does. Now, there's two ways of working with magnetics. One is subconscious, and the other one is conscious. You usually don't have any idea of what you are receiving and sending out again. But if I were to look at it from my perspective, and I will show this to you, and I see a planet Earth with on it about 8 billion people, much more animals, and even many more plant life and mineral life. And all of it has a magnetic field, a small generator, which is basically the akeneic, which is the center of gravity. And then, I see all of these things on planet Earth having thoughts. Most thoughts come from the decoding program, from the mind as it comes in. Some thoughts are born within as it experiences reality around it. But all thoughts are always sent away, no matter where they are coming from. Sent away again from the gravity well through magnetics. And what happens is humanity being in a constant rippling process. It means that a thought is experienced in this body, for instance, and it is transmitted again through magnetics, repelled from the gravity source. And it leaves the magnetic field of one person and connects to another, and to another, and to another. And constantly you are creating these ripples. Constantly. That is why I have always said that you have a bigger impact on the planet than you think. So if you see how this process works, you also see the power of light combined to consciousness. Again, I'm not talking about the light that appears in 3D. I am talking about the light that is even right here in front of you, of that which appears to be empty air. That's the light I'm talking about. And when you allow that to become one with a blank slate of consciousness at all time, you would be amazed what happens when you start the rippling effect. The way I have seen it for the last hundreds of years is a very unstable field of rippling of all these magnetic fields interacting with one another. Do you know what it is supposed to look like? It's supposed to be still. This is what you call synchronicity. When everybody is in total consciousness, in connection to the light, the thoughts that come into a person and that go out of a person are exactly in balance, which means that the field that is doing the communication is totally and utterly silent. And you personally have had that experience when you are in meditation and you feel completely at peace. That state is the silent state. That state will allow you to open up the room that leads to the chair of creation yet again. And that state is also on a macroscopic level the normal state of humanity. Now, as I have explained these things to you, I have given the channel some visuals. You might have received them too. Visuals of how this process really works. And after this channeling, we are going to work on rediscovering that process. I'm going to remain here, obviously. And as you get ready to work with the space within and with the first element of the inner portal, I will be guiding you and assisting you. Do not be alarmed if the power of what you are about to discover is bigger than you think, because it is big. Light is a big deal in this universe. As I said, it is all that is. It is the hologram. And discovering that you are at an equal creative place can be quite unnerving, especially when it moves away from the field of theory into the field of the fully practical event. And that is what is going to happen here in these 2 days. You're going to make it practical. You're going to make it real. You're going to make it you. It is what you have been waiting for. It is what you have created for yourselves as your destiny. It is who you are, what you are, and why you are. Oh, blessed human, I hope you can understand what bending the rules is all about. I hope you can understand why I chose to call this message a message of play instead of theory. For that is really what these words are meant for, to play with, to experience, to take the steps. Let's give you a sample. That's what somebody here is asking. Before I go away, as a voice at least, I'm going to show you the effects of bending the rules of light. Focus on your thoughts. It doesn't matter if they are pouring out of you or being put in you by something exterior. Just focus on the energy of thought. You might notice that thought waves travel on the carrier that is light. And that all of a sudden some pop in and some disappear again. And some are creative and some are not. Some are destructive. And do you feel what happens as these thoughts come closer? It's almost like you are at the center of a vortex here, and that these lines of light are spiraling down into your head, and that the thoughts just come on these lines and they just spiral down into your head. The ones that are created from within, you find spiraling out of you from the chest, from the heart, getting bigger until it connects with the lines and ripples off into the distance. Feel this process. This is what is really happening to you. You see? Now I want you to do something special. I want you to go back in time. One of these thoughts that is now spiraling down into the head, right before it gets into the head, let's stop the energy. And let's move up again. Let's move back in time. This is a bad thought, this one, a negative thought. A thought that might hurt you or make you feel small. But we follow it back up. And we're going to follow it all the way through. Do you feel where that goes? It goes right into the heart of all things, like everything does. Now I dare you to feel the purity of that thought as it comes out of the heart of all things, travels through the supposed holographic universe and tries to connect to you again. Do you see that you have a power here, human? Do you see that you can actually deprogram the carrier that is bringing it towards you so that it doesn't become a dualistic negative thought as it comes into your brain? Oh, Solarys, this is so meaningless. No, it isn't. No, it isn't, because it is these thoughts, dear one, that keep molding you, that keep locking you up into reality as you know it. Not the ones that are pouring out of you, spiraling out of your chest. No, not those. The ones coming in. And yet, they come from the same place, Solarys. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They come from the heart of all things, which is the akeneic. And as you know, there is only one. So if there is only one akeneic, what is the deal, really? Why am I in a belief system as a human, you might ask yourself? where you are supposedly separate from this heart of all things. And why must energy travel from that place to your own place? You know what the energy really wants to do, as it is unfortunately transferred into a thought of negativity. The reason why that energy that will become a thought is pouring out of the heart of all things and trying to get to you. See it in its neutral state. It is nothing more than a reminder. Nothing more. That's all it wants to say. It basically wants to say there is no separation. There is no time. There is no space. There is no form. There is no exchange, and there is no death. There is no separation. That's what that neutral energy is saying as it comes out of the akeneic and travels over this illusionary field and finds its way into your brain. As it is traveling in an illusionary space-time continuum, your energy is used by some to create the time-space continuum in the first place, so that the thoughts that are basically reminders of who you really are warped. And when they get into you, well, they are no longer recognizable. And so they are no longer yours. And that is the separation. It's a very, very genius game, isn't it? A thought of neutrality being turned around into something negative. Such negativity that a being such as you, angelic, could not accept as its own, and so it comes into you, and you accept it as your own. Oh, if these words are not making much sense, then I suggest you listen to them again later. They will. They will. They always do, because they're yours. So this, all of this that you are seeing around you, is also child's play. It is also a creation of a reality which is not the authentic one, not the original thought. If you can see that, and if you can see yourself as a child also, then you know that some aspects of this totality, calling itself human, have bent the rules for their own benefit. And, as children do so often, when they don't like another child bending the rules for their own benefit, they simply bend it back. And that's where you're at right now. Instead of pulling the light and the thoughts that are negative, instead of pulling them into you, just let them orbit around you as they come in, reverse them to neutrality, and send it back. You will see there is no distance. You will see that you are here already. And you will see that you are, that you are, that you are. This message is not finished yet. I still have more to say, practical exercises on light and consciousness. But you need time to process. So I am going to give you time. I am going to stop this vocal communication. And I'm going to, as I always do, sing to you. I am going to sing to you through the next bit of food that you are going to take in. And this food, you will feel it and its vibration so much that it will immediately reconnect to your DNA. That's the way I'm going to sing this time. Allow yourself to believe that this food will sing to your soul. And you will see what reintegration is really all about. This next bit of food will tell you about light and what it is really all about, because it will be an aspect of it. Great divine seeker, always remember that we are one love, that we are one joy and one freedom. Always remember that you are just seeing something which has been created by another of you so that you could play a game. And please remember to take that chair of creation and sit on it proudly. It is yours. It is your neighbor's. It is your mother's and your father's. And it is even the chair of that which you would call the enemy. So in order to sit in it, you are going to have to accept that you are going to have to erase the borders of your body, so that 8 billion pieces of you can once again sit as one. I will come back later to talk more and to give you the exercises that you need. You are dearly loved, and so it is.
In this class, we will discuss the theory and the practice of that which in English you could call the infinity sphere, the infinity pyramid, and the infinity angle. That brings us to a very interesting starting point. Infinity. What does it mean? What does it entail? If you look throughout history, if you look into your philosophers and later on your scientists and your artists, then once again your philosophers, and now your quantum scientists. Throughout all of these ages, the concept of infinity has been explored in many a different way, but one of the most important or interesting ones with regards to our topic today starts in philosophy and was later on by Pascal taken into mathematics. And this concerns the discussion of the infinite circle or the infinite sphere, depending on whether you are talking in 2 or 3 dimensions, of course. The interesting point is that when people throughout the ages wished to explore the concept of infinity, even within the realm of mathematics, a need was felt to include a particle, a concept, if you will, that rises above the material, the physical, and such, and rises into the state of that which in religion then gets described as God. Now, throughout history, an important definition of God was linked to the concept of the infinity sphere or the infinity circle. And the definition goes somewhat as follows. God is an infinite sphere or an infinite circle, of which the center is everywhere and the circumference nowhere. Later on, the same definition would be used and the concept of God would be replaced by infinity. In other words, infinity is an infinite sphere of which the center is everywhere and the circumference nowhere. Of course, when thinking in the mind of the world of vibration, of the world of particles, you believe a center to be at the heart of a, in this case, sphere or circle. At the heart, and the circumference by default would be the edge of the circle, or in the case of the sphere, the outer skin, the outer field. And in your particle physics and your understanding of the world, the space between the center of that circle or sphere and the circumference would be known as the diameter. That diameter, the space between the center and the circumference, is a finite, limited number in particle physics and your understanding of the world. And therefore, you are dealing with finite particles, finite circles. And the concept of infinity, the God concept, turns these concepts on their head, turns them around by reducing the circumference of the sphere, and we will go into a practice of this in a while, by reducing the circumference of the sphere. As the sphere grows smaller, the center of the sphere, in itself a point, grows larger. The center, equal to the shrinking of the circumference, grows until in the center of the diameter, these both circles meet. And in that moment, when the center of the sphere, in itself a circle holographically speaking, and in itself a sphere holofractographically speaking, when that center meets that shrinking circumference, infinity is generated. And the vibrational laws of physics are lifted. Now, theoretically, this is a very simple idea. a sphere with a center point, and as the sphere shrinks, the center point grows until both meet in the middle and lift each other out of existence. The center of that sphere, therefore, is now everywhere and nowhere, and the circumference also everywhere and nowhere. The diameter has not become infinite. It has become non-existent, meaningless, lifted into the chaotic spectacular. Rather than going into the detail, today at least, of what this all means, we are going to attempt to let you experience it. That is, after all, why you are here and why we come together. As I already stated at the beginning of this class, a field of consciousness has now risen in this Imzaia Merkava, in this student body, to such an extent. The practice has been practiced by you all to such an extent, and the preparedness and the openness is there to such an extent that practical exercise can begin. In order to do so, a location, a physical and metaphysical location, is about to be manifested for Imzaia student body here in Europe. This will be explained more in further days, but it is in this location that all of you will be invited, both in the physical and in the metaphysical, and for the time being, where needed, in the digital, this way, if you will, for those of you that are spread around far, in order to facilitate these next training sessions, these next steps, where all of the things that you have prepared for can now begin to be turned into practice.